All right, everyone, welcome to number 3 in our Professionals Who Practice series. I did the first 2, and now it's my honor and pleasure to have my darling dear friend Lupe Voss, who I affectionately call the Hair Color Magic Queen, join the series. Today, obviously, we're going to be focusing on hair color and how we use our pivot point mannequins to practice and teach hair color, and even as experienced professionals, how important it is for us to keep practicing. So Lupe, tell us what's happening color-wise, and then we'll talk about these different mannequins that you're working with.
All right, let's do this. So I'm going to be doing a block color, and to make it simple, this is a technique that we teach in the new Hair Color Magic class, Dreaming and Demi. So what we're going to do here is a block color, and to make it really simple, we're going to do a block letter. So today what I'm sectioning out right now is a letter H. So I'm going to have, here are the legs of the H, and then straight across the top is going to be the bar that's inside that H. And I will vary the new growth. So let me show you this real quick. So this is one side of the H, and this is the other side of the H. And then this is going to be the bar in the center, right through here. All right, so we've got our H. So to make it simple, I decided to do an H because I liked the way it looked. And this is what's going to happen. This is going to have dimension, this is going to have dimension, this is going to have dimension. This is not. This is the interior of the H. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to put dimension through this fringe. And this is what our end result is going to look like right here. So if you see, you can see some fringy pieces in there. And then you can see how the H on the top, the bar, and then we have a face frame of dark, which is going to be this, because this is going to be the black. Okay, the technique that I'm going to be doing is varying the new growth, the root color. I'm going to vary it, so it's going to go low, some pieces are going to go high, some low, some highs, some lows, so that you can get that variation that's happening in that mannequin. And then the rest is going to be a veil that covers through. So that is the pattern in there. So what I've done, I already colored the underneath, and in her front fringe, we got rid of that so you didn't have to watch me paint that, because that's like watching paint dry. Like, seriously.
It's like watching someone put on a single process.
Yes. So we're not going to do that.
So Lupe, we have our first question. And again, for those of you that are just joining us, I know a lot of people are just joining now. This is number 3 in our series with Pivot Point, called Professionals Who Practice, and today we're focusing on color and practicing color and teaching color using great educational tools from Pivot Point, like the various mannequins. Lupe has pre-colored 3 different ones for different reasons. She's going to give you an idea of what mannequin to work with for what lesson you want to practice. We're also going to talk about these incredible tripods, the universal tripods that make it so much easier to get comfortable while you're working, and they're so durable. And Lupe is going to be taking you through color blocking or block color. We have our first question here from Cody Lee Grindle. What is block color, Lupe?
Block color is taking really bold subsections and placing color. It's in the life of now. We work at the salon with a lot of lived-in color. Okay, so block color is taking different shapes and different bold pieces through the hair and putting different colors on. It's really interesting. Back in the 90s, we did a lot of this. We did it very one-dimensional, which isn't bad. You know, it was just the sign of our time back then. Now what I'm doing is, if you look, the first new growth I applied here, now I brought the black a little bit further down, and I'm alternating this violet color. And if you notice, I place it right up against it, not into it, right up against it. And this is the thing. We teach you, when you're doing hair color, to melt like so. That's with oxidative dyes. That's with a permanent color. Whenever you're working with a demi color or with a Pulp Riot type of a color, you want to make sure that you're working this way and not melting these two together so that you don't get a band. Because if you're using complementary tones, you're going to neutralize each other. So here we've got a violet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be melting out a light blue. So here we go. Here's the blue, and I put it right up against that violet. Now I'm gonna roll the two together. And I'm moving in really small movements. I'm going slow so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm moving really slow to roll that hair to make sure that the saturation is good. And I will tell you, if you don't, ask me how I know, do it in a very small, fast way, you're gonna have little hollow spots, and it's happened to me.
So Lupe, Diane Lorink is asking, is this a form of ombre?
I guess you could call it a form of ombre because it fades out into different colors. Mm-hmm. To me, when I hear ombre, I see dark to light. Okay, so real quick, short root, and now I'm going to alternate. So now I'm going to put the violet on top, and then the blue on the bottom. Here we go. I'm going to roll it again. So ombre to me is dark to light. And if you want to go to this mannequin, this would be what I would consider a really soft.
After you put in this foil, can we take a moment to look at the other mannequin? So, and then we can see what the end result of this looks like in some of your other variations.
Right. Okay, here we go. So we're melting the two, and that's where I left the two. I'm going to melt it. You can see where the blue is starting to process. And then we've got the violet. I'm going to make sure I'm really saturating. So going back to what if it's an ombre. So this is a short root. So the next I'm going to take a long root. It can be because we're shifting out the colors. I mean, it is melting into the next. It is a dark root, and then we have two colors that are melting out. So that is going to be a long root. I am so sorry. Let me do this. Here we go. Make sure that it's rolling back and forth. Now,
Lupe, are these semi-permanent or permanent colors?
These are. This is a demi. This is Aveda Demi Plus. Beautiful color. Very, very conditioning. Super shiny. And the longevity of these are beautiful.
So today you're using Aveda color.
Aveda color.
And use that on all of your pivot point mannequins.
All of my pivot point mannequins, yep. And I'll tell you the reason why, we can talk about this mannequin if you'd like. The reason why I'm using this blonde mannequin to start with, which is Diane, is because I want to see tonal value happen versus having a bleach out one and then go back in tone.
So this is Diane's, the color, the light blonde that comes on the mannequin head.
Yes.
The Diane mannequin.
And this is what the end result is. So if you want something that you want to see and physically see the end result, start with a lighter, and that way you can go deeper and start doing more fashion tones.
While we're back there, can we quickly look at the three mannequins that you've already pre-done?
Yes. Okay, let's take a look. This one, Josephine. So this is the one, and I will show you her starting level. If you wouldn't mind handing me Sarah over there. There you go. So this is Josephine, and I like Josephine. I like the density of her hair. This is a great mannequin to do ombres, to do backcombing techniques, to teach hair painting. The density is really, really great, and there's a lot of guests that have this type of hair. And this is what her starting level is. So you can see the difference. So this would be something that you would use in lightener and then go back and tone it. You could use some kind of a bleach to do hair painting, backcombing. These would be great for lived-in color techniques. And this is what the starting level looked like. So this one is Josephine. Josephine has thicker hair. You would be prepared to like really get into your technique. She's great for hair painting and for tipping techniques and balayage. And then again, we have Diane.
And Diane is exactly what you're demoing now.
Diane is what I'm demoing now.
And again, this is her starting level.
This is her starting level.
So the way I understand it, there's kind of, there's a light brown, and then there's a blonde. Yes. And then there's a few mannequins that have like a mixture. Yes. They're 50-50.
They have 50-50. This one, and the team, this is what's really important, is really think about how thick the hair is and how much color you want to go through. Because for sure, you could get a really thick blonde mannequin, but think about how much work is going to get put into it and how much color you're going to use. Because
you learn more just because it was
it's like really you're really learning the technique of what you're doing for these. And then
the same thing with the head size. A lot of times I'll go with the smaller head size.
She's tiny. Her head's tiny. Sarah's head's tiny.
It's called Josephine, medium. Don't insult her head. It's medium, not tiny.
I am so sorry. She's petite. No? This one, Josephine has a big head.
And let's talk about this last one, and then we'll get back to your...
This is Viola. Viola seems to be the one that is mostly used in classes. She does have thicker hair. She has a lot of texture to her hair. All of them really have great texture. So you can blow dry them smooth and get all the texture out. Gino got this prepared, got all the mannequins prepared for us today, and he actually curled to get some of the fuzziness out of her, but she does come with wave. And this one,
love the color placement on here, Lupe.
well,
Looks fantastic.
thank you. This is a placement that you learn in True to Tone. It's called a foil in placement, and it is a super fast way of blonding. Like if you want to get someone really blonde really fast, that would be the technique. It's called foil in. So that's the technique on that one. Let me wipe my brush off real
All right,
quick.
so now we're getting back to what you did on the Diane. And again, for those of you that want to see the end result, we'll keep referring back. This technique has already been done on one of the other mannequins, another Diane. It's her twin sister, actually.
Her twin.
Her twin. And Lupe's showing you how to do that. So we'll keep referring to that finished look so you can see it.
All right, so we're going to put right in through the front. I'm just going to do the new growth color, the black, which is a black. It's the Demi Plus. What I did is I mixed half 1 in, half 3 in, and it really comes out black. So here we go. We're gonna pull through, pull through. So when I choose the mannequins for when we're teaching classes or when we're ready to launch a new class, I think about what is the technique that we're going to use, what is it that I need for them to get out of the class, and really how much product do I want them to use, because we could spend all day on the technique and it's really not that important. It's more about the technique. So these mannequins have enough hair to give it to me. I guess that's, I didn't know if I should say that.
So yeah, generally there's a few. I mean, two that come to mind are the Diane and the Sarah. The Diane being a lighter blonde, the Sarah being a more kind of, no, Erica, I'm sorry, Erica, I think.
Erica. Mm-hmm.
Erica being, they're both smaller heads.
Yes, petite.
Yeah, they still have enough hair, great quality human hair to do a great lesson on, but you can perhaps make more out of your time in the classroom.
Okay, so we got our root color on. I'm going to roll this hair back and forth to make sure I get great saturation. This is the violet, and then I'm going to melt out with the blue. So what's beautiful about doing this technique when you melt out two colors, and I will tell you it'd be easier if you stick with two colors that are in the same family. So for example, you could do yellow, orange. The next slice you would do orange, yellow, or you could do purple and blue like what I'm doing. You could do red and orange. So stick to the two that are very close to the same family. So that was a short root. Now we're going to go with a long root. That way you have a pretty blend. And what happens is you get this effect that looks like a water painting, I guess would be a great way to describe it. So we are going to pull this down.
You got a compliment on how nice your hair looks from Dana.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was a hotel haircut just the other night. Yeah.
Gerard cut my hair in the hotel. We actually, after we started, we were like, we should have videoed this.
Yeah.
It was
You know, I
great.
usually only cut pivot point mannequins, but I made an exception for Lupe.
Okay, so we're bringing this root down. Now we're going to go blue to violet. And you can certainly just do blue. Let's just do blue so you can see it doesn't have to melt with another color. So let's roll this back and forth. Make sure it's really nice and even.
So up to this point, you applied the root color, and then the blue, and then the violet.
Yes.
You've had all of your colors on one.
Or, yes. Or you could just do one all the way through. So let's keep this short, and I'll just do purple. Let's just do the violet all the way through. That way, I don't want you to get tied to having to do it.
Here's a technical question coming in from Susan Silver. Why do you like to fold the foil on the top and not under?
You mean when I put it over my pintail comb? I don't know. I just like it. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I don't care. I really, especially when I teach, I think it's what we're used to, because I'm sure everybody that's watching has a different way of folding the foil. So for example, if I wanted to
She maybe, yeah,
this,
I think that's what she's talking about. Yeah, fold it that way.
You could do it this way. You could do it this way. Like
Yeah,
so.
so you put your tail
It does.
comb in.
Yeah. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna throw this.
Okay.
There you go. I don't think it really matters. It's up to you. You do you, boo. Whatever you're
So
comfortable
Lupe,
with.
lots of people are just joining. I want to give them some basic information. You're watching Hairbrained Live and a special in a series called Professionals Who Practice. This is our 3rd edition. We're going to do 3 more. We're going to do some barbering with Sophie Pak. We've done some color here with Lupe Voss. And there's one other one. We're going to do styling with Ruth Roach. And the whole idea is to show every hairdresser out there how important it is to keep practicing, no matter how successful or knowledgeable you are. And that as professionals, we believe that learning never stops. And we found over the years, none of us work for Pivot Point at all, but we found over the years at Pivot Point to be our best companion in education. The tripods, the mannequins, practicing, doing classes. Every class that Lupe does around the country, around the world, they use Pivot Point mannequins. And we believe in this product, so we wanted to just share it out there with you. And hopefully you can then get some of these mannequins. You go to pivot-point.com. Pivot-point.com. You can order any of the mannequins like Lupe's doing at Diane. You can order the Diane mannequin, you can practice along using the same exact video and get a great end result. Let's get back to the technique.
All right, so we are melting a couple of colors together. The technique, I will recap. So we have our new growth already done. I already prepped her because I didn't want to waste time on you watching me do a new growth application. So every parting I'm taking, I'm alternating this. One at the new growth, I'll leave what it is, or I'll drag it down slightly. And then I'll apply my first color, which was blue, and roll back and forth to make sure that it's saturated. So here we go. I'm putting my violet on, and there's where my blue is. I put the violet right up to it, and then I roll it back and forth. When you melt a demi color or an acid color, whichever colors that you're using, a nitro dye, you don't really want to go this way. You want to work it this way so that you have a really nice blend of the color, and it keeps it from browning out. If you had the same, if you had complementary colors, it would totally brown out. Ask me how I know. All right, so this one I drug the root down. Now this one, I'm gonna keep it what it is. And I think I'll just keep this violet because I like the violet. No, I'm gonna do blue.
Ooh.
Huh.
So Lupe, in general, when practicing using mannequins or doing classes, you know, you've got the choice of like a light blonde or a light brown. How do you distinguish which ones you want to use for what lessons?
So for any type of weaving, foiling, lightening techniques, I will either use Sarah here. And if you look at her, the reason why, she doesn't have a lot of hair. Her head, her little
It's
notch,
already like layered.
It's
got
layered.
increased layers to it, so it's
Yeah.
not a solid form of one length sheet of hair.
Yes, and it's not super thick. So you don't have to,
Density-wise.
yeah, the density wise, you're not using a lot of product. The class isn't spending a lot of time with that type of technique. So someone who has less, I would say less time, this would be it. This would be something that you could do a fast color application on. So that would be what I would do. So it is darker. So I would grab one of those if I'm going to do anything that has any type of backcombing and lightening on it. And
So like this type, you use the natural brown
Yes.
base, the light brown base, and then you did some pre-lightening and toning. So
Yes.
that's an example of choosing
so this
the
would be a
light brown.
great for a bleach and tone class, a hair painting class, anything that's darker. This is the thing. Color doesn't lift color predictably, so because these are already colored, you have to lift them up. So if you're working on formulation, this would not be your, that would not be your category. I'll show you exactly what we will do with formulation in a second. After I'm done with this, we're gonna move on to some swatching.
We've got lots of people joining us interested in this block color technique, so recap the technique for us if you don't mind. Lupe.
All right, so what we did at the very beginning, I put new growth and mids and ends from the parietal ridge, right below the parietal ridge, so that you guys, it would save time. And then I took an H pattern, and I'll show you here. Here, and I'm actually coloring the leg of the H right now. And then this foil here that goes across is the bar that connects the H. So this H pattern is what we did, sorry about that, on this little girl here.
She's Diane.
She's Diane.
They're twins.
She started out, this blonde, if you're just tuning in right now, this is what her starting point is, and this is what we actually created. So if you are wanting to do a placement and you want to see the color without having to do a bleach in tone, then you would start off with one of these lighter colors. So Diane, the reason why I do like Diane, there's another one called Bridget. And Bridget's a bit thicker. The density of her hair is a bit thicker. And you know, like we'll talk about why that's great for hair cutting, but for hair color, when we use these, we're really learning a technique. So thickness really isn't our key point.
Lupe, we've got a technical question from Susan Hain. What determines the width of your parting, and how much product did you mix up? That's from Susan at Capretti & Co.
Hi, how are you, Susan? I love you guys at Capretti. Hey, okay, so I mixed up, for her, I think a total of 180 from the new growth to the dimension pieces.
Grams.
Grams, yep, 180 grams.
And you're using Aveda color.
This is Aveda Demi Plus, brand new Demi Plus, and it's so beautiful. I love the tones and I love how rich it is. So we've got our new growth, and the reason why I'm taking my partings, they're not perfect and they're not symmetrical, because when it falls, I want to have that shadowy effect that happens on the hair. If you take them really nice and even, you're going to see lines that fall down. I want this hair to be, I want shadows through the root. This is a shadow root. I forgot to say that. Yeah, this is a shadow root. Okay, so that one was short, and now let's take our other parting, and like I said, it's not even if you look at it, and it's zigzaggy almost. And let's drag out some of that root here. There we go. Let me wipe my brush off, it's getting dirty. Oh, sorry I lost my voice. We were at the HVAs last night. Woo. Okay, it was an event. So we've got this. I'm going to take this one all the way purple, all the way down. So for those of you who are just tuning in, when we melt two colors together, we normally go up and down. What we're going to do for a demi color is we're going to go back and forth, if you see how that works. And in slow-mo, this is what I'm doing. I'm really moving and pressing that color into the hair. I call it rolling the hair, so that you can make sure that you're nice and saturated. If you don't, you'll end up with some hollow places. And if you really want to get tested on your application, going darker on a blonde mannequin, it will show you exactly what you need to work on.
So Lupe, lots of people are asking about where to get these great mannequins and tripods, and they're all made by Pivot Point, and it's pivot-point.com. Pivot-point.com. We're going to put it in the feed, and so you can link out to it, and you can see the variety of mannequins, the different head shapes, the different hair textures, hair types. And Lupe, when you're finished with that foil, if you want to talk about the tripod, sure, because it's such an important part of being able to get a great lesson.
It is, and I will tell you, we have these in the salon. We host classes for Advanced Academy. So these are our tripods that we have in the salon that I train my team with as well.
The universal swivel.
Universal swivel. It has like, I don't know if you can get this, Kel. It has a leveler. So for those of you like me who are OCD and have to have your tripod even, this is going to tell you that your legs are even. Is that why you come in
an hour before class to check all the levelers?
I check and I make them set up. They're all the same height. It's like a thing for me. Okay, so here we go. This is your tripod. And the thing is that's really interesting about this, these are sturdy. These are so sturdy. I can't tell you how sturdy they are. But if they're used incorrectly, you will ruin the tripod. And I will tell you, I'll watch people, they'll start moving the head without unloosening the gears. And you want these to last. I mean, they're quality. So I'm gonna give you a little tutorial. This here loosens the head. So she's got bowling ball head, right? So see that? She has a swivel. There's a hole for the swivel. So if you need her head all the way down, you can. So this here is really great if you need to push her head away with her chin down.
Which head position is so important in both cutting and coloring?
Yeah. I mean, how we stand, we got to be good to our body, right? So this will help with that. I watch people turn the heads, and what happens is you start ruining this gear in through here. Instead, there's a little pin that is right here. If you pull this pin down, she'll swivel anywhere you want, instead of twisting her, and then this gear here gets stripped. So another key point to this, so we have this for her head, this for the swivel, and I keep the legs only to where they're at right now, to a 10, unless someone is super, super tall. There's another extension that will bring it back down so it is taller. Another key thing that you can do is keep it at 10. It looks nice if you're setting up your classroom and they're all even. It's so pretty. So this will loosen up here, and there's a crank. Look at what?
Going up.
And then there she's a lot taller. So this gear here, if you have to unscrew this and then roll it back down, then you're good right here.
And you lock it in.
And you lock it in. That
Great.
way she doesn't move.
So thank you. Perfect tutorial. Which you do all your classes. You start off when you show everyone how to use the tripod correctly.
I do.
So because you know if you haven't had experience with it, you're not going to have the best lesson possible. So that's a great one.
And I really want them to last. You know, I've been teaching at the salon for years, and I still have some of these that have been around for 10 years.
Yeah, and lessons in lessons number 1 and 2 of this series, I had my own personal collection, and I have one that I have since 2001 that it's been used like crazy.
Yeah.
I have one from 2005 and one from 2016. It's my own personal 3.
They'll last if you take care of them. I'm going to put some blue on this one. I was just filling it right now. Right there. Okay, so if you take care of them, they will last you. And it is really important because you want quality.
All right, let's get into a great technical question from
right.
Alex Humans, a longtime
Hi, Alex.
friend, follower. Hey, Lupe, do you have any tips for achieving better level separation with Demi? I've had challenges with the levels being so opaque and they look the same.
So my
It gives
question...
a more, he says recently I did a 5 copper new growth into a 7 copper, 9 copper ends, and everything looked like a 6.
Okay, so I would challenge you to work with your saturation, and a lot of it is timing. So if you were going to do a technique like so, and you had the copper at the root, and you're doing this mids and ends, I would challenge you to think about your saturation. Do you really need a level when you're looking for tonal difference? Because that's what I'm thinking that you want to see. Or if you are going to be, I'm just going to give this to you right now. What we found to work best, and we're teaching it in the Dreaming in Demi class, is if you're going for a level 7, and I would choose a level 8. And then if you know it's going to be sitting on longer than 20 minutes, you always go one level higher. So in reality, your 7 on the mids and ends could have been a 10, maybe even a 9, and you would have had that separation. It's timing. You know, color it's a depositing color. How about that? How about if I say that? I want to be safe about what I say. It's a depositing color, so it's going to keep depositing through time. So if you're taking more than 20 minutes, you need to start choosing higher levels. For every 10 minutes that it's going to sit on, choose a higher level. So we're going to drag this root out. I hope that helps
Lupe,
out.
if you could recap the formulas, tell us what's in your bowl, and then we'll take another look again, because so many people are joining all the time. We'll take another look at what the after result is, because we have a pre-done mannequin, and Lupe is showing you the technique now. So walk us through the formulas, and we'll look at the pre-done.
So at the root, what I have is 1 in, 3 in, and this is light ash, equal parts with developer, 10 volume liquid. And then I'm melting it out with the blue. And what I'm doing, I'm just going to do the tip right there. What I'm doing is I'm rolling it back and forth, back and forth. Instead of melting it up and down, I'm working this back and forth. So we've got light intense ash, which is blue. We've got light ash, which is violet. And at the new growth, at the root, we have 1 in and 3 in.
So I want to introduce you guys out there to Lupe's partner in crime, Mr. Gino Chapman. Gino's an amazing hairdresser, celebrity hairdresser. We won't get too personal, but take a look on his Instagram and see him hanging out with all his celebrity clients. He's also a winner of the North American Hairdressing Award in the Contemporary Classics category. And Lupe and Gino do a lot of color classes. Gino cut and styled these mannequins. Kelly, why don't you come up close so Gino can show the after effect of the color. Talk about your cuts and give us all the details.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, all these cuts definitely when we go out and teach classes and we co-create things together. She tells me the vision of what the color is going to be, and of course, block coloring to me. I'm not a colorist. I don't attempt to try to be. Sometimes I do. So when she says block coloring, to me, technically, it seems something stronger. The lines are a little bit bolder. So what I wanted to do is just create just a nice little graduated effect and still create that boldness. So the linear lines sit really nicely in the anatomy towards the jawline, and then a beautiful fringe just above the eyes to kind of lock in both linear lines together, so it brings out the strength of the hair color, which I always think is quite gorgeous, especially the tonal value that she did with this H pattern. And some of the softness within the cut was also used the H that she put into the color too. So we like to go about and bounce ideas back and forth with each other, which I think is always fantastic. So for this color, again, it's a little bit bolder. Now the colors on this side here, for those in the layering world and deconstructing and moving the haircuts a little bit here, this was much more of a triangular style layering. So for those technically, in the placement of the movement of the hair, I wanted to really kind of strike forward. Of course, the technique within the styling itself, which I'll tell you right now, Viola is the perfect woman.
You told us that she's your favorite,
she
your
is
dream girl.
My dream girl. She has everything. Her growth patterns are absolutely wonderful. The density of hair is beautiful. I believe also for a cut and color class together, I think this is always a winner in my book here.
The Viola mannequin. Yeah,
Viola mannequin. It comes with a great length. The density of hair is absolutely amazing. And again, none of us work for Pivot Point, but I am a super fan of these. Talking about also stand, I think I have one that's about 10 to 12 years old when some of the technology was not the new technology yet, which again, I'm a fan of. Tripod technology.
Pivot Point, the leaders in tripod technology.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you can see the beautiful color. And again, just a soft deconstruction just to showcase off the style itself, and then to the coloring that Lupe puts on it. I'm gonna just jet on to this side really quickly here now too. And for this haircut right here, again, it's in the deconstruction world, which is lifting and softening and moving. This is for those out there is much more rounded, meaning opening up the face and exposing a little bit more of the front itself. So again, you can see the softness really trying to pull back off the face. And again, another one of Lupe's wonderful techniques of color, which it always fascinates me because I get to hang out with her and listen. So I feel like I'm a colorist, but I'm always trying to complement what she does with the haircuts also.
There's one last thing that I want to mention that you might not be thinking about out there when you're practicing and you're doing your classes, but one of the other things besides making the best mannequins out there, this is an ethical company, Pivot Point. I didn't know so much about this until they wanted us to do this series and I watched a video. They actually pay a fair living wage to factories in China and India. They're so fair that they've got what's called an SA 8000. They've been globally certified as an ethical company that treats their employees, and even in third world countries, to the highest standards possible. And if you get a chance, go on their website. We've been putting it up in the feed. It's pivot-point.com, and watch the video. See how you can do good in the world while creating a great product.
Right. So I will say, before I go on to our next segment, I will say that these, in the salon, because I am a salon owner, and I have to make sure when I'm doing classes that I buy mannequins, and the hair cutters, Gino will come in, or Gerard will come in and teach our team, and these longer mannequins, we can get 2 or 3 haircuts out of them. So
we can get a lot more than that, Lupe.
Oh yeah, I think we've done 4 on Viola.
Honestly, you can get 4 to 6 if you start to include barbering and clipper work.
Yes, and then Tristan Morrison came in and I got the even longer ones, and I think we did 6 haircuts on her.
Yeah.
And that was this one and again, her hair is thick enough where you can do different techniques. They did with razoring, they did with shears, they did this one also we practice up styling for her.
Which one is that? Is that the Josephine?
This one is Josephine. We practice up styling with Josephine. Braiding. She's pretty.
Well, we're super excited to see your swatching.
All right.
So let's get in there now.
Let's do this. All right. So we have our blonde mannequins that we would like Bridget and Diane, if you want to see a color and you're depositing color, I would use the blondes. The difference between the two would be one has a little bit thicker hair and she's a little bit longer. Then we have our Violas. These are all really great for technique. Teaching a technique, doing a technique, and practicing a technique is how we get good. I do want to show you one thing that you can do to help you with formulas or to visually see the value and even like the saturation, what I was talking to Alex about. This is something that we do in all of the hair color magic classes. We do swatching. Now, here, this is the Demi Plus. This is the new Demi Plus line. Gorgeous colors. They're so much fun. So these are the two that I used today, which we'll take a peek in a second to show you how they're processing. So we've got all of our light demi tones, and then we have all of our dark demi tones. These are swatched beautifully. Ava, one of the Aveda trainers, did these yesterday for you. But I do want to show you there is a proper way to swatch, and you can see the difference about how beautiful that swatched versus how spotty this is. And if I lift it up, I'll take this off in a second so you can see the back. And this again is the red, and you can see how it's not thoroughly saturated. So I do want to show you this.
So these are swatches, they start off like this? Is that...
Yes, I'm going to show all of that, the packaging, everything. And there's no yaks have been hurt, I swear. So here we go. You can tell that this is not thoroughly saturated. So there's a right way to swatch, and then there's an incorrect, or maybe an alternative way of swatching. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but we're going to talk about how to actually swatch these so that you can have a beautiful saturated swatch. Okay, so this is how they come out. This is how white they are. This one, this is the packaging, and if you look, it says white field, and it has the number team. It's HS12W, 12W meaning white. This is the white swatches. This is what it looks like. So this is our starting point. And for those of you who have been in classes with me, I'm a real stickler about how beautiful these are, because what we do is we'll swatch 12 of them for 12 participants in the class. So I think everyone deserves a beautiful swatch. If you want to see a true value of tone, and you can see these are not thoroughly saturated and they look completely different than these two. If you want to have a thoroughly saturated swatch so that you can see the true tone that's happening in your formula. So this is what I would suggest you do. Most people will pick up and then paint onto the swatch like so. And then what happens is, if you see the silver on that, see how it's not being saturated. What I would suggest you do, make sure you wear gloves so you don't ruin your manicure, is you press the color into the swatch, put the swatch inside the bowl, massage it back and forth, bring it out, make sure it's really like thick. Bring this down, and then again, like the technique that I just did, roll the hair back and forth to make sure that it's thoroughly saturated, like so. So then we'll do another one. Let's do a purple. So grab a swatch. Let's pick it up inside the violet. This is the light ash. Make sure it's really nice and saturated. See how goopy it is, like really thick. So bring it back down. Roll this hair back and forth, back and forth. Some people do like to keep a piece of the white at the top visually, you know, like as a visual, so you can see what your starting point is. You can if you want. They have different levels. They have a level 10, 9, 8, all the way down. They even have a black and white, a gray that looks like it's 50% gray. So now I know.
Pivot point swatches all the way from a level 1 up until 25.
Yeah, well, this one's 25.
The California swatch.
This is our California blonde one. Right here. So then you just let these process for the amount of time that you would normally process your color for, and then when you're finished, it's really important. Don't just rinse them out. You need to shampoo them out. So once you shampoo them out, and to get them really nice like so, once you shampoo them out, take and squeegee them with your fingers, comb them, squeegee them, and then lay them out flat so that they dry nice and firm like that. And then you'll have a pretty swatch sheet like so.
So you, again, this is one of the ways that you practice, and it's one of the ways that you teach.
Yes.
So you're still doing this with new formula ideas or new products?
Yes, yes.
And then in class, if someone was to take a hair color magic class with you, where you do use these swatches.
Yes, this is everything that we use.
You spend almost like a few hours swatching, don't you?
We spend a long time. I think it's really important to see what you're using, like what the value is, what the saturation. You can see what the tonal value and what's going to deliver. So it's beautiful.
Awesome.
I love these visuals, and there's something about, as a colorist, I think everyone pretty much, when you guys saw the swatch sheet, you guys were like, ooh.
It looks pretty.
Yeah, it's so pretty. Yeah. I mean, we
I
love
like
color.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's see what's happening inside of here. And these are the two colors again. I had told you that we were using. So as she's processing here, you can see how she's actually gotten darker. Let's see. And the thing is, as long as the mannequins are nice and saturated, you're going to have a really nice tone. You can see the violet that's happening in there. And then you have your blue that's happening there. And then here we have just that little edge of melting them together vertically. Remember, we're going this way, not this way. And that way the two colors will have a really nice melt.
And Lupe, now we've got the finished result. So again, if those of you, we've seen the application, we've talked about swatching. If you've just joined us, we've shown the finished result a few times. Do you want to show it kind of in comparison right next? And just show which colors where, and maybe just really explain it.
So we've got our violet through here, and you can see tiny pieces of the blue that's inside. And then we have the one in. And you know what's really interesting is that once you start doing these colors, and like I said, go with red and orange, go with orange and yellow, go with blues and purples, something that looks the same. Even you could do green with yellow, you know, like something that is in that same family, because to make purple you need blue. So that's why these two work. You can even do purple and red because that red's in purple. And that way when you start to massage them together, then you get that it looks like a watercolor. It's like a melted type of effect. Yep. So this was an H pattern. Again, what we did was from the parietal ridge down, I colored the root color on the new growth and mids and ends. And then I went through and I did the root area first. Subsection H across the parietal ridge or the legs of the H, and the bar across the top.
Where did the end of the legs of the H, where did that end?
It ends right here. Let me show you.
So Lupe, you start off like this, and then you do this, and you end up with that.
Yes.
And then Gino comes in somewhere around
and
here.
then Gino cuts
or did you
it.
cut it first?
I cut it first.
So Gino, come over here.
Okay, so Gino.
We start off with
let's
this.
start off with
Give it to Gino. Gino does his thing.
Hand it off to Lupe.
Handed it off to me. I did my thing, and then she ended up with this. Yes. So here we go. We've got our H pattern that we took. It's right from the right where the head curves down. So at the medium crown, those two bars came across like this, and it was right on the parietal ridge. And then we have the bar that comes through the top. Let me show you this. Through the top, that's the bar of the H right here. So then that little space, this is black. This is black. And what Gino did when we were finished, if you can check that out, he cut through so that you could see some of the violet that we did and blue that we did. So on the fringe, what we did, let me push her down just a tiny bit so Cal can get this. We worked in pie sections going through the fringe this way. So when the hair falls, you can see how there's melted of different colors in there. You can see the blue and you can see the violet. So the longer on the Demi Plus that you let this process, the deeper it'll get.
Lupe, there's a question from Jody Mello LeMay. Do you melt differently with
Jody.
Demi than you do with permanent?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes. So permanent, because it is an oxidative dye, permanent color we would melt horizontally. So I would paint on one color, paint on another color, and I would melt the two together horizontally. Because this is a demi color and it's very depositing, and plus you want to make sure if you're using complementary tones that you do this. So you paint the first color, paint the second color right up to it, not on it, but right up to it, and then you're going to roll vertically back and forth. And that you would do with any type of colors like Pulp Riot, anything that is a direct dye or a nitro dye or a demi. A demi color is what is a depositing color. So you just want to get right to that line where they both touch but not really melt into each other this way.
Because if they did melt into each other, it would brown out.
It would brown out and you'll get a deep band. Ask me how I know. So don't do it. Don't do it because you'll get a band in the hair.
There was a hashtag, ask me how I know.
Ask me how I
She used
know.
that one a lot. Thank you so much, Lupe, for sharing your excellent excellent lessons with us. Thank you, Gino, for volunteering your time to help your girl Lupe prepare all these great mannequins. Thank you, Pivot Point, for really creating such incredible tools for educators and hairdressers. I know we couldn't do what we do without them, and we're really honored to do this series. Up next, we have Ruth Roach. Is that correct, Courtney? So we'll be doing styling with Ruth Roach in a couple weeks. She's one of my favorite hairdressers with styling, brilliant. And then we've got Sophie Pock doing barbering. So super exciting, and we look forward to bringing you more of these lessons. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.